Ever looked at a blueprint and thought, this is just the beginning of something incredible? Welcome to the Inner Blueprint Podcast, where we believe the most extraordinary builds start with you.
I'm Shawn Feurer,
the Universal Mindset Disruptor.
For over 2 decades, I've turned simple plans into remarkable realities in the home improvement world. Now, I'm here to help you do the same for your life and for your business. Make sure to take some notes, and most importantly, enjoy the ride. Welcome back to another episode of Inner Blueprint. Remodel your mind for success. This is the podcast for the home improvement industry. Every week, we're sharing tips, tricks, and mindset hacks for you to create better results in your life, in your business, by thinking better thoughts. Today, I am so excited for our guest. He's a friend of mine. We met back in, I believe it was 2015 at a contractor event. He's the owner of Absolute Aluminum. He also owns, with a partner, Absolute Window in Venice, Florida. Absolute Aluminum does about $24 million a year in gross revenue. We focus on bottom line, but that's the revenue. They've got 107 employees. This man is an amazing business person. He's an amazing friend. He's one of the best gift givers I've ever met in my life. If you ever go out to dinner or hang out with him, you better be a good receiver, because he's going to try and spoil the shit out of you. I'm excited to welcome my friend DJ DesJardins from Absolute Aluminum to Inner Blueprint. What's up, DJ?
Hey, Shawn, how you doing?
It just did, because I've got you on this podcast. How about we start a little bit with your journey in the home improvement business? You started this in 1988?
Yeah, it hasn't all been good, so we'll condense the bad portion.
How did you get started in the business?
My interest was piqued in the business when I was a youngster. My father rented space to a gentleman that was in a similar business, and I'd work for him during the summers of my during high school.
Okay.
So, and I was a hands-on type of mechanically inclined kid. You know, my dad brought me up that way.
Yeah, and your dad was an accountant by trade, right?
He was. Kind of an oxymoron. Most accountants aren't good at building and doing that type of stuff, but he always was and did everything himself. So. And
did you like school, or did you prefer building?
I preferred building. I didn't like school. I now understand that I was never diagnosed with ADD, but I sure have it. So that was probably a pretty big factor.
Yeah. At some point, I want to talk about it a little bit, because you've shared with me how you've discovered in the last couple of years that that's one of your superpowers, is being able to focus on lots of things at one time, right?
100%. 100%.
And just for listeners, just so you know, we're both have a little bit of ADD, so we're going to be all over the place as we tell this story, but that's going to be good. So how did you get into the aluminum business?
Well, I worked for, like I said, the guy that my father rented space to. It was coming to the end of my senior year, and where was I going to go to college? I actually was going to go to college. I was going to go to community college up in Gainesville, Florida. My grades weren't so great my senior year, so I decided that I should probably take a different path. Although I didn't know it then, I guess I had a lot of entrepreneurial spirit due to my father being an entrepreneur and other family members. When I got out of high school, started learning the trade in the aluminum space, and fortunately, I didn't have to really work on the jobs for very long because of my drive and passion for trying to grow and do better. I distinctly remember it because I had a cell phone in a vehicle that was a 1994 Explorer, the year that Explorers came out, and for some reason it triggers me because I wasn't actually working in the field at that point. So it was about 2 years into me being in business that I wasn't physically on the job anymore.
Wow.
And that's where I got to start.
When you first started, what products were you installing?
We were working mostly in manufactured homes, doing roof overs on mobile homes and screen enclosures, utility sheds, doing mobile home setups. You build a carport, build a shed, build a screen enclosure, and they call those setups. So we were in that space primarily, and I hired a sales rep shortly after that, and we kind of got drug into the new construction world.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have spoken before, so you kind of know my story on the whole new construction space, and we know where we went there.
Well, I'd like to share a little bit of that as we go through the story, because I think there are a lot of home improvement contractors that at some level have been pulled in from time to time to new construction work. And there's lots of volume there. There's lots of appeal sometimes. And I think you've got a really good story of what happens, especially when we run into something like we did in 2007 and 8 with the Great Recession and the new construction market collapsing. But your first couple of years, what kind of revenue were you doing in the early 90s? Just to give people kind of a feel for this journey to get to 24 million.
Thinking back, we were probably somewhere around 350,000, and then got up to 1 million.
Okay. When did you start seeing some real growth? I mean, it takes a lot of years of effort in the home improvement industry, and I'm sharing this because I work with so many young entrepreneurs that see success stories like DJ, the Charlie Gundells, and they say, "Oh my gosh, I want to build a $20 million company in 5 years." And every once in a while we see that, and we usually see that collapse very quickly. But most of the stories that I share are 30 and 40-year stories. So DJ started at less than $500,000 in revenue, and this year's on pace to do 25. But kind of what does the journey look like in between there, DJ?
Getting into that new construction game, I made a few mistakes. We really ramped up in the new construction and started adding products to our product line, because you kind of get drug in that direction when you have sales reps out there beating the street and they're in front of contractors. For one, they have a hard time finding people that are going to do the job and do a good job. When you're young in business, you don't really clearly understand budgeting and all the things that you need to do. So you're kind of pricing it based on where everyone else is priced. That can be problematic. Now, for us, we were able to attract talent and still do live by our core values, which are, family, quality, and integrity. And we always took care of our people. So we grew from 3 or 4 people in 1988 to 175 people in 2006. And we were doing about 22 million in sales until the brakes hit when the Great Recession hit. And we had to start dumping people in trucks and kept our products.
How many products did you get to in 2006 at the peak with that many employees, that kind of revenue? How many product lines were you offering?
More than 30 products.
Okay.
And that was everything. The part that's good about that is now you have all these builder relationships. And now I'm working for, Centex Homes. And now what am I doing? I'm doing their estate gates because I have a welding fabrication shop. I'm doing their soffit fascia. I'm doing their gutter. I'm doing their screen lanais under roof. I'm doing their cages on their pools. I'm doing all these, screen entries, you name it. We did it. We were doing glass enclosures, manufacturing a glass wall, and kind of like a port solution, 3 seasons or 4 seasons room, you would call it up north.
Yeah.
We did Bahama shutters, all kinds of welded fencing, stairs, handrails, you name it.
What kind of net profit were you able to carve out with that much new construction work, with that kind of volume, those employees, that many different product lines?
2006 was our best year ever, and I made, I think, 5% net profit.
A lot of work and a lot of liability.
A lot of liability, and what I didn't know then and what I know now is that you just can't take care of people the way that you need to take care of people to continue the growth and the vision with that many product lines, because it's not a duplicatable process, and B, you just can't pay them enough because it's too competitive if you want any money left over for growth. And when you're dealing with builders in 2006, my receivables were $2.5 million. So a lot of those businesses went south, and I probably lost more in profit. I probably lost all the profit that I made that year when they went out of business and stuck me, because 5%, it doesn't leave you a lot, right?
No.
So we went from 175 people down to 75 people, and we went from 22 million in sales down to 7.9 million in sales.
Wow. Well, One thing I want to point out to listeners. So DJ talked about 5% net profit, and it wasn't enough for him to take care of his people. And that's what I love about working with guys like DJ. And a lot of the guests you're going to hear on this podcast have a similar mentality. We're trying to get up to 15, 20% net profit, not because we have greedy owners, but because DJ likes to take care of his people. And at a 5%, which became 0% when you got the losses of '08 coming into play, there was nothing left to take care of yourself or anybody else. So that's a huge part of it. So DJ, let's maybe 2008, what happened? Like what happened? Get a little bit vulnerable here for us. And just because I know I dealt with a lot of people and myself, I got my ass kicked and I paid everything, but it wasn't easy. And there are a lot of people that took bankruptcy, that didn't pay people. You had not only your business, but a lot of real estate holdings and a lot of things were affected negatively by the Great Recession. Tell us,
Yes.
listeners, how did that hit you?
Yeah, so the business was difficult, but I had that huge, accounts receivable. I got screwed out of some of it, but I had that money sitting there, so that was basically operating capital. So I kind of rode things down. I was still able to maintain, my salary and all my people's salary. We weren't profitable for several years after that. We were just scraping to get, do whatever we could do to feed the machine, so to speak. And so we did that. Now, me personally, I invested outside of my business, and there's kind of I have a theory and a methodology to that, and if we're kind of spinning forward, I don't want to get too off track, but my reason why I went out and did all these other investments, I was scared for my people to see the kind of money that I was making, and now, fast forward to today, we're very transparent with our numbers. We sit down and we go over what our goals are. We meet quarterly. We talk about the state of the company. We talk about our vision, our mission. We talk about what we did the last 3 months. We talk about what we're going to do the next 3 months. We talk about our revenue. We talk about our profit. Had I known then what I know now, I would have never invested outside of my business, because why would you?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you invest within your own control? The only reason you do that is because you don't know what you don't know. And I was just thinking about something, because I can think about 2 or 3 things at one time. Is that for anybody that's listening that is in a small business, and where they do their networking is at chamber events and builder events and that type of thing. To me, that's one of the worst. Those are the worst places for you to grow as a business owner. You need to go get involved in networks where people are doing the same thing as you, because what you hear at those type of events are people talking about top line. And you and I both know that nobody cares about top line.
No.
You cannot take care of your people, and you cannot put the people in place to execute your vision with top line. Top line is for boasting at Chamber of Commerce events and things like that, where, in our groups, we talk about net profit.
Proudly, because net profit means we're doing good things. Profit is not a dirty word. And so many business owners are scared, one, to charge enough money to generate a profit. And then when they do, they try and hide the profit from all the key team members that are making the profits. And I love when we get to kind of present state of the company, I think you can share some of your vision and what you're doing with these profits that you're now making. Speaking of networking, let's fast forward, because I met DJ when I was an employee of Certified Contractors Network, which is a great organization for networking with like-minded home improvement contractors. And DJ, I think you got an invitation through your gutter topper business, right? You came as a guest of Gutter Topper, and we met. And what was your first impression of CCN? I mean, share one of the reasons you joined, because you loved that event. I remember how excited you were.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons I joined, well, there are a few reasons. I realized when we went down to 7.9 million in sales, and we had all those builders that we are all extremely loyal to, and not to go down a different rabbit hole, but people listening that do builder work, they do it out of their loyalty to all the people they've been working with for a long, long time. It was easy for me to give up that work, because I realized that as soon as the going got tough, they weren't so loyal. They didn't care whether I was making money or not. When 10 people were going to give it to them for nothing, I wasn't going to do the work anymore. So we slowly gave up that builder work, and it was a pretty easy transition at that point in time. So we rebuilt the entire business on just in-home sales. So albeit we were at 22 million doing builder work with salespeople out there pounding the pavement, selling 5 or 6 products to builders, we now only sell in the home. We do no builder work.
And you'd already made most of that transition in 2015, because you were doing very little new construction when I met you, weren't you?
We were. So that gets me to, exactly what we were talking about is I realized that I can't do it myself. And the only way that we're going to be able to execute on my vision, which at the time is not the vision I have now, which thankful to you and Inner Blueprint, was that I was going to need to spend time, energy, and money on educating people to be able to be rowing in the same direction and execute on this plan. They need to understand more about leadership. They need to understand all the things that they probably weren't taught in school or even taught in college.
Instead of investing outside of your business, you invest in your people. Like, you're one of the biggest proponents of in-house training, of putting money back in and putting profit sharing and incentive-based things as the company grows and becomes profitable. Not only are you going to benefit, but so are your people, right?
Exactly. We're able to invest this because we are able to charge the right price and put profit to the bottom line. You can't do it if you don't have a great team of people that are executing and delivering an exceptional customer service to your customers. People are willing to pay for what you deliver. You have to set yourself apart, and that gives you. I mean, I'm at an EOS conference in San Diego right now, and I have 4 of our leadership team here. Just to come here, it's $2,000 a person.
And the time and the money, and I know you're taking them out to nice dinners and usually give them cash to spend while you're there. I know how you operate.
Yeah, and we have to fly here, and that's a lot of money that most people aren't charging the price to be able to do this. But they're also not charging the right price to grow their people. 5 years ago, we implemented an EOS, and it took us probably into the 4th year before we actually, we call it pushing it down to every level, where everyone, all 107 people that we have in our company are in a meeting at least bi-weekly. And typically, if they're in the field, installers, people that are doing service in the field, we're not tying them up in a weekly meeting. But if salespeople, operations, they're all in a meeting, and they all have scorecards. So we have very clear measurables, typically 1 to 5 measurables that are tracked every week for every single person. And that is EOS. It's about this right structure in your company. I sit in the visionary seat. I have an integrator, and what a visionary does. Mm-hmm. Visionary, thinks about 20 ideas a week, and then brings back to their leadership team, and one of them they say is a good idea, and 19 aren't. And then you figure out how to implement that and how to change and how to move the needle within your company. So in a nutshell, for me, EOS has been the structure that we needed to really fully understand and measure what people are doing, because entrepreneurs go rabbit hole all day long. I work on my business, not in it. The majority of my time is spent traveling and working with networks and masterminds and different programs on the business. I'm not in the business going down a rabbit hole from somebody in marketing and production, and the grass maybe not getting cut in the lunchroom being a little dirty, and all the little things that we tend to go down rabbit holes and tie people up. And I use the term hijacking time when I'm speaking of EOS, because when I talk about hijacking time, it resonates with business owners. So if I'm talking about EOS and I say, like sending that 4 a.m. text, where when they wake up, the first thing they're doing is stopping what they're doing so that they can get you an answer because you're the boss, and that's hijacking time. That goes away.
Well, I remember, and when you were first, and this has been a couple of years ago, I think I can't remember what event we were at. We were sitting having lunch, and I said, DJ, what's the biggest thing? And those are the exact, you said, Shawn, I don't hijack. Because you used to have, and listeners, I know some of you resonating with this, you have 20 ideas, and you send 20 text messages in an hour period, and every one of those messages is now blown up every single employee you just hit. And now what DJ does is he puts those 20 on a list. Once a week, it gets reviewed, and you're still able to be the big thinker and have all these thoughts. It just now has the thought instead of being an ADHD business owner that's, shotgunning ideas. You now have a rifle approach. And the other thing too, I want you to speak on is the accountability it creates, not only for your team, but for you. Because one thing I work on mindset with almost every business owner is you got to hold yourself accountable. And unfortunately, for business owners in the home improvement space and pretty much all small business, you're not accountable to anybody. You can change things. You cannot show up. You need something like EOS to hold you accountable. How has it helped you be more accountable, DJ?
Yeah. And when I text in issues, instead of texting to a person and hijacking their time, we use a software. Fortunately, EOS there's a few different softwares, and everything goes into an issues list. The other benefit to that issues list is our entire leadership team is in that meeting. So I may have something regarding sales, but operations may have some insightful input. So we're never having one-off conversations ever. And then we also identify that issue, we discuss it, and we solve it, or it becomes a to-do for someone. And if it can't be done in 7 days, it's going to go on our VTO. We're going to grab that and set rocks, at the quarter.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, listeners, so let's just kind of recap a little bit where we're at in this episode. DJ's been sharing a little bit of his journey. He's gone from a, $500,000 company to a $24 million company. Today, he's narrowed it in. How many product lines do you currently carry on your way to 25 million?
4.
Listen to that.
4. We sell pool enclosures. We sell a LED lighting system for pool enclosures. We sell seamless gutter. And I can't even think of the fourth one right now.
But laser focus, right? You're investing in your people. You've minimized your product lines. You're on pace to do 25 million. You're going to have probably record profits this year. Let's talk a little bit about the journey and mindset, because anybody who's listening, if you want good process, you've got Certified Contractors Network. You've got, some of you work with Grosso University and their sales process. We've got EOS, which I'm a huge fan of. You've got all the systems in place, and DJ's done a very good job for nearly 40 years of implementing them. But and we're just getting started. Some of you do know my story, some of you don't. But I left Certified Contractors Network as a business coach and started my mindset practice in 2018. And I've spent the last 5 years perfecting a process that we now call Inner Blueprint to take your mind to a new level. And DJ waited a couple years. I kept telling him, DJ, I got something new for you. This is exciting. And you remember, it took us a little while to get you. But I want you to share what's different in your life today because of Inner Blueprint, because of taking control of your mind, and how some of the systems you were already using work better, and just overall, and even into your personal life. How has you becoming a student of Inner Blueprint and you understanding how your mind works and how it actually creates the results from the inside out, how has that impacted your life?
Well, just, it's impacted my life drastically. So much it'd be hard for me to even quantify. But you can learn all these best practices, and you can network with people, and you can deliver a great customer experience. You can also have your structure set up, right? EOS. You can have great meetings and you can have all this. But what most don't realize is all of your own pre-programmed paradigms, because you are the decision maker at the end of the day. I mean, if you have a good leadership team like I do, I have a phenomenal leadership team, and they will hold me accountable, where most business owners have nobody hold them accountable. They hold me accountable because when we step in a room, they understand that we have to be open and honest with each other. They also understand that, one of the 5 dysfunctions of a team from our buddy Patrick Lencioni's book is, being fearful of being open and honest. So they will call me about, but most people can't. And where I'm going with this is that what holds you back is the 6 inches between your ears. And you don't even realize what is holding you back unless you start working on your mind. Because from Bob Proctor, from your work, from Jack Canfield and all these amazing people that you don't even know what your mind is. Ask people what their mind is, they think it's your brain.
Close your eyes and think about what your mind looks like. And until you do work with us, you don't know what it looks like. I mean, I have a college degree, and in all my classes in science and biology, nobody ever showed me what the human mind looks like. And that's one of the first steps in Inner Blueprint, is understanding what the mind actually is, how it works, and then how we can implement that knowledge to make every system we're already using work better.
Your pre-programmed paradigms from your childhood, from emotional events, they're truly holding you back, and you don't even realize it. It's changed her life, and she's amazing.
We're talking about your beautiful daughter who she had a boating accident, she had some traumatic things happen, and they created anxiety and fear. And when she first started working with me, DJ travels a lot. She wouldn't get on airplanes with her dad, and she wanted to get on so bad, but she had this anxiety that was caused by a traumatic event that wasn't hers and wasn't true. And keep sharing and keep getting emotional, DJ.
And the reason for her, and much like everybody else, and I'm using her as an example of how you're being held back, because you don't even realize what the outside world is doing to you, because you don't understand your mind. And if you don't understand the things that are coming at you, the 5 senses we talk about, you probably have the little guy sitting around you somewhere.
He's over there. Yes, he's right here.
The stick man. You cannot know what you do not know. And when you realize how the outside world affects you from the information you're getting, the only way you can change that is to know it and stop it, right? We talk about it as vibration. And I don't allow things, people, business, anything to put me in a bad vibration. As soon as it starts happening, I recognize it, which is a reason I have E plus R equals O tattooed on my wrist.
What does E plus R equals O mean to you, DJ? I want you to explain it from your perspective.
For me, is the outside world events that happen, and my response equals my outcome. So whatever it is, whether it's personal, business, family, an event that's happening, how I respond to it is what's going to change my vibration, right? I mean, that's the way that I look at it.
Yes. And what do you have control over?
You don't have control over the events. You have control over the response.
Yes. And most people don't have awareness, and they react, right? And you and I talked about, as good as we're getting, we still react once in a while. We still have something hit us, and something from 2008, something from our childhood pushes a trigger, and we want to react, and we let it take our vibration. And we're both getting good at keeping it from less than a day, right?
And for me, like, I'll give you a good example. I never knew that I was pre-programmed from my childhood, from my mother, most likely, or it could have been other family or whatever. I have a scarcity mindset, and because of that, even now today, the events of, leads slowing down. Sometimes I'm drifting
back to
towards that scarcity, right? Well, the whole reason I'm in this business is because it's a very predictable model. I know that leads coming in the top of the funnel equal appointments set equals a certain amount of sales, which equals revenue. There's no reason to fear that, because you do have a little control over that.
Yes. Well, and we talked about that, and DJ and I both had some financial struggles in 2008. And so even in 2024, when everything is really going overall really, really good, we can have one or two things come up. Your subconscious is doing two things, trying to keep you efficient and safe, and it uses past experiences. So it immediately goes back to 2008 and says, DJ, leads are down, be careful. DJ, cash flow could be an issue, be careful. And you have to consciously, like DJ does every day, take control of that reaction and then turn into response. That's not true today. That's not mine. I'm different. I'm not invested all over the place in real estate. I've got cash flow. I've got reserves. but it's a daily battle. I mean, it comes up, and if any of you are getting stuck in negative thoughts and negative vibrations, Inner Blueprint can be a cool tool to help you realize what DJ's realizing. DJ, one other thing I want you, if you're open to getting a little bit vulnerable here, what is a paradigm from your definition of working with me? What is a paradigm?
A paradigm is how you view something because of what was ingrained into you. So typically, paradigms are not true, they're not yours, but it's something that you believe because it's spaced repetition of thought. And we all have paradigms, and they're all caused by spaced repetition of thought, which typically is coming from your family, your friends, whatever it may be.
So you had a paradigm when we first started working on your mindset about education. Do you mind getting vulnerable and sharing a little bit? Because you're one of the most educated people I know, but you felt like you weren't because of a paradigm.
Yeah, and the craziest thing is I never even knew it. To make a long story short, I come from a Catholic upbringing. I went to 12 years of Catholic school. The definition of success in today's world, especially in the school system that I was in, is as soon as you do that, you then go to college and you get your degree, and that's success. And because
you didn't do that. So are you a failure?
Exactly, right? So that was a paradigm that was pre-programmed in my head because of my upbringing and the school that I went to and everything, that I probably didn't fit this definition of success. And I never really even realized it until getting in Inner Blueprint and working with a mastermind group that I'm part of. And once we started, talking about our past and all that, and I never even realized it. And the funny thing is, I tell people quite frequently now that I thought I was uneducated. I felt inferior. Because I didn't have this college degree, because that was what success was. Fast forward today, the funny thing is that I never stop learning. I believe it because I see it, because that is the trajectory that life has to take you in. When you get there, all of a sudden, it's like you hit the finish line. You're not going to grow as a person, and you're surely not going to grow people if getting that college degree. And there's nothing wrong. I think I love college. I want to go to
both
college.
Your daughters are going to college. DJ's big on
Right.
education, but I want you guys to listen to this, because DJ, when I met DJ, he was showing up. He has a beautiful home by the beach. He's got beautiful cars. If you ever see his fleet, DJ is abundant and successful, but at some level, he was holding himself back because he felt like he wasn't educated. How are you doing in comparison to all those educated people that ran the program that you didn't, with your own business at 25 million? I mean, you're kicking everyone's ass, aren't you? Financially?
Well, you know what happens with your inner circle. All my friends, they say if you put 5 of them together and you divide their total income, you're going to be within 10% of each other. They all make very good money, even outside in the different industries that they are in. But in a social setting, sure, at my country club, if I was at a some type of function, and the question came up, which it does, which was another reason why I had this paradigm, because forever in life, where did you go to college? And then I'd have to talk about the fact that I didn't go to college. And I really pushed my kids to go to college, I think, more because I didn't want them to ever feel like that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that it was a paradigm, because I didn't know what a paradigm was prior to Inner Blueprint,
So you've done work on that. How do you feel today? Are you educated, DJ?
Yeah. Oh, yes. I may tell people I don't have a formal education, but I have multiple PhDs in psychology, business, accounting, and life.
Yes.
But I don't have a formal piece of paper on the wall. I've got 1,000 certificates from different classes that I've taken, and I never stop learning. I read books, but that was another thing that I really kind of figured out the last year and a half, was this ADD we call our superpower. I wasn't great in school because of it. On your inner blueprint, I listened to it at 1.5. A lot of people may think you're a chipmunk at 1.5.
Well, especially
But-
Caitlin that does the intros on she already sounds a little bit high pitched, and you put her on 1.5. I can't listen to it, but your brain moves so fast that school couldn't keep up with you. But you've now
Right.
found ways to educate yourself at a way faster pace, and you do have a PhD in business and life. I mean, I will second and concur that for you, man. You are one of the smartest, most brilliant minds that I work with, and I love.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do know how to learn.
Receive that. You are. Every time I bring up a book and I think it's a new book, DJ's like, oh, I already read that one. I mean, literally, you're a wealth. And I want listeners, I want you to think about this, because anybody who's known DJ, none of us would have ever guessed from the time I met him in 2015 that he had this complex. When you saw him at an event, you saw him as a successful business person who brought his whole team with him, who took care of people. None of us ever looked at him and said, he doesn't have a college degree. But he was carrying the weight of this bullshit on his back for all these years. And with Inner Blueprint, he threw that shit away. It no longer exists. He walks, and I love, and you got to receive this too. DJ shows up differently now at every industry event on my group coaching calls, because instead of having this little hindrance of he's not educated, he shares his knowledge. And because he removed it on the inside, we all get to benefit on the outside of now he shows up powerfully as a PhD business owner, and he shares his wealth of knowledge like he is today with the Inner Blueprint listeners of this podcast. So thank you for doing that, bro. Thank you.
And you'll never uncover. I tell people a lot, and we started on this, of course, we rabbit holed a little bit. 90% of a person's business success is in the mind, and it surely is in sales, right? Think about sales. Apply your mind to sales. What do salespeople hear all day long from customers? Your price is too high.
Your price is too high.
Your lead times are too long. All these things that they hear every single day. If they spent a little bit more time learning the skill of sales, they would get a higher close rate. They wouldn't have those things affecting the 6 inches between their ears, and they would make more money for themselves. They'd be a lot happier, and they wouldn't have the spaced repetition of thought that's developed from these customers saying the stuff over and over again, right? It's the same thing in business.
Yeah, DJ got programmed about education for 18 years of education, or 18 years of life from his schooling, hearing he had to do that, and it got programmed into him. Sales professionals go out, and every day, if they close 1 out of 3, they hear no, 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 price, price, price. They let that program. And so when I work with salespeople in Inner Blueprint, you got to put on a positivity shield of, yes, belief in company, belief in price, and belief in self to offset that. And we are offering now with Inner Blueprint some new trainings geared more to the mindset. One of the reasons when I left CCM, they have a great sales process, but I was training DJ's guys in that sales process, and some would do better and some would stay the same and some would get fired. If the sales process works and I take 5 guys and it only works for one of them, it's not the process, it's the guys we're plugging in. And it's hard to find good guys to plug in. So let's take the guys we have. Let's work on their mindset. Let's work on their inner blueprint. And then we're seeing that. I mean, we've got your team firing on all cylinders right now. Like, I just got off the call this week with them, and they're doing some good thing with their mindset, you guys, with their mindset. They're using the process better.
It's because they're aware of it, right? What you don't realize as a business owner is what's holding you back until you get into something like Inner Blueprint, because it's going to uncover all those things that you don't even realize are happening. We were talking about my daughter, and it's funny because she's 20 years old, and we'll have conversations with grown adults. And when we get done the conversation, I'll say, so what'd you think about that? Man, that guy's got some really messed up paradigms. They're really holding them back. And I'm like, what you've learned about your mind, and even you could see it in other people at 20 years old, is going to be
out. Well, Abby's gonna take the world. And let me ask you, is Abby flying, man? Does she fly?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Is she going to college and living independently, confidently, powerfully?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. She recognized all the things that were holding her back. When you don't know what's holding you back, there's no way that you can fix it, and you're not going to get the growth that you want. For me, I was developing a leadership team and planning on being done, and you kept telling me, you need to think bigger. And what was holding me back, and Shawn knows I'm a huge diehard Buccaneers fan. I've been to both Super Bowls. I love the Buccaneers. And he said, I want you to own the Buccaneers. And he said that to me to try to get me to think a little bigger. I didn't want to own the Buccaneers, but what it did was it started making me think about all the knowledge I have and everything that I could apply and help people with my passion, which is growing people and making money. I'm in the process of making 20 plus millionaires, probably even more, because now that I'm venturing down this path, I'm realizing that there's a lot of money for everyone to be made, but you can't do it if you don't know what's holding you back. And what was holding me back was this scarcity mindset. The inferior stuff was an uncomfortable feeling that I had to deal with all the time. I don't know that I can equate that to actually holding me back. Maybe it was, but the scarcity mindset and some of the other things that I didn't recognize were happening to me were holding me back in a way that I never even knew. Yeah. And I uncovered a lot more, right? I never would have uncovered this feeling that I had if I didn't know how things like an event were making me feel.
Listeners, if you're new to this information and new to listen to this podcast, the first step in high level mindset is awareness. And once you're aware of it, now you can do something. I had an intuitive thought. I had some powerful mindset because DJ's a powerful guy who thinks big. But when I asked him about owning the Bucks, the reasons he told me he shouldn't own the Bucks were all self-limiting beliefs that he's now identified and removed.
Right.
And he may never decide to own them. I know if he wanted to, he could. But he's taking, you didn't want to be in the limelight. You thought it would, everything that was holding you back in absolute aluminum came out when I had you think the bigger thought of owning the Buccaneers.
Yeah, we call it the imposter syndrome. A lot of it was probably that, how can I do this? An inferior,
One thing I learned from Bob Proctor that applies here is if you're going to doubt anything, doubt your limits. And if DJ wants to own the Bucks, if he wants to be president of the United States, whatever he decides to do, the only thing that's ever going to hold him back is his mind. He's now aware of it. He now E plus R equals O controls the response, and not in certain situations, in every situation, right?
Definitely. So, I mean, for business owners, I would suggest working on your mind first, business practices, process, and all that secondary, because it's going to be the jet fuel to what you're trying to accomplish. Like, I feel like I did it backwards, right?
Yes, and I did too. I went through a whole bunch of messy shit and BS I didn't have to because I didn't understand how my mind works, and that's why I'm so passionate. I was going to ask you for a takeaway. So if we went back to 1988, what's one thing you would tell a business owner to do first? Is it Inner Blueprint? Is that really? I mean, this isn't a plug for my program, but what of all the knowledge you have, what's been the most important factor in your success in the last 5 years?
Oh yes, 100%. I would say, no matter what it is, if you're, starting out in your $350,000 a year company and you don't feel like you can do it, start listening to some podcasts, start understanding what your mind is doing, how it's holding you back, how these self-limiting beliefs are holding you back, where they come from, so that you can move past it.
What's your favorite book? Free resources for people that want to work on mindset and they're not ready maybe to invest in a program. What's your favorite book, or what are a couple of favorite books?
Well, we all know Napoleon Hill, right? I mean,
Think and Grow Rich is a good one.
Think and Grow Rich. You love, and I love Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield. Anybody that
you like the book,
Pritchett. It's a quick read. This notion of I'm not a good reader. So anybody that says they don't read books and they're not a good reader, 100% guaranteed you have ADD. You can't read fast enough to even keep your own attention.
You listen to it, right? That's what Audible's for.
So you listen to it on Audible and you listen to it at 1.5 speed or higher. I'm a Catholic, so I was using Mark Wahlberg's app this Lent because I wanted to do something for Lent instead of giving up for Lent. This notion of I don't read books is so pre-programmed in your head. Anytime I hear that,
it's a paradigm, right? It's a paradigm.
It is a paradigm, and it isn't true. It's not yours. It's because you probably weren't good at school. You have ADD. and you don't have a great attention span. But the greatest thing is with technology today, any information that's out there, you can speed it up, and trust me, it'll hold. You'll listen to it, and you'll retain it.
You know, DJ, your discovery of that and sharing it in the owners group has now trickled down to almost every group I have. Everybody's talking about listening to it on 1.5 right now. Even if you're not attention deficit, you get programmed into it by a phone, a tablet, a computer, a TV. We've got our attention being, I mean, the most valuable resource we have is our attention, and everyone's trying to take it. And if you can find a tool like DJ's talking about to speed things up, you're going to get the information. DJ, we're at the hour. I know you've got places to be. Any last takeaways for the listeners? This has been a gem. I knew having you on here would be so valuable to the listeners of this podcast. Any other last takeaways, actionable items that you can recommend people do?
Maybe live and die by the mantra that you're going to work harder on yourself than you do in your business. And I think a lot of people are, we keep talking about paradigms, and we could talk about it for the next 3 hours, like I said, but, think about things that were programmed into you about hard work, for instance. Listen, working harder isn't the way you do it, guys. Getting to the office first and flipping the lights on and leaving last isn't the definition of a great day. Don't mistake effort for results. You don't have to outwork anybody. No, I still see stuff today comes across my phone on Instagram. No, don't work harder. Work harder on yourself than you do in your business, because you're going to clearly understand what's holding you back in business if you do this.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
And, call up Shawn if you're a contractor and get an inner blueprint. It'll change your life. And it doesn't matter. He could be charging 3 times as much, and you'd more than pay for itself. And that is a plug, because I'm a believer.
Well, and we do add value. I'm a big believer. I want to add more value than I'm taking and money for it. So DJ, thank you. You dropped some gems here, and DJ DesJardins, Absolute Aluminum. You can track him down at most industry events. You can go to his website. Any other information on contacting you, DJ? Because I know you got a lot of people who would love to network with you.
You could email me at ddesjardins@absolutealuminum.com.
All right. There you have it.
I get enough calls. I give it to you after you email me.
Yeah. If you want to connect with him, DJ is one of those guys that he has a wealth of knowledge, and he's a giver. He loves sharing it. So if you feel called, reach out to him. I'm always available. If you want to talk inner blueprint mindset, DJ, how does it get better?
Just did.
It just did.
All right. Well, have a great day. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you.
All right.
Have a good one.
And just like that, we've laid another brick in the foundation of your incredible journey. Thanks for tuning into the Inner Blueprint podcast with Shawn Feurer, your navigator through the maze of mindset and success. Remember, every tool you need is already in your belt. It's all about how you use them to craft the masterpiece that is your life and business. Now, don't let the momentum stop here. Follow me on social media and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to never miss an episode filled with the blueprints to your best self.